Well, long behold, my Volkswagen Bug project. If you've been watching this channel for a while, you remember this was one of the very first background projects I was doing on the channel when I first started YouTube. And honestly, since that time, I never really worked on it since. A lot of little issues here and there throughout this car that just weren't done right. One especially being with the engine. So that's what we're going to be focusing on here today. But this is the start of restarting the Volkswagen project. So as you might not know, because I really don't talk about this much, it mostly just sits around in the background of my videos. This motor is a fully stroked out CB Performance 2276 kit, and it has a Dick Landy B&M signature supercharger on it. I didn't know when finding this how rare this supercharger is, but I guess this actual Dick Landy edition one is super rare in the Volkswagen world. And I haven't really found too many people with this one. I have seen supercharger kits, but not specifically this Dick Landy Industries one. So it is very cool. And basically rewinding to the beginning of the Volkswagen Bug, I got this shell and the motor from this guy who was gonna potentially build something. He never actually got around to it. He got this motor out of a sandrail, which is a little concerning, and I think that's why I had a lot of motor issues to begin with. But he had the chassis, and the chassis was terrible. It had missing floor pans, it was pretty rusted, and I went through it and I completely redid this thing. Sandblasted the whole car, put a cage in it, all new interior, literally everything, fenders, everything fiberglass, and had to get doors from a different model. The whole car was literally a junkyard car. It was a bare shell. And then we just slapped this motor in. I got the transaxle built by Artigas, and it's a fully built trans. I don't remember all the specs on that, but the trans in there is strong. I started building this car when I was 16 and finished it, I think, when I was like 17 or 18. That was almost 10 years ago now, so that just shows you how much this car's been sitting here. And if you know Volkswagens, from sitting they develop leaks, and this thing leaked every bit of oil out of this. Prior to its driving days, when I was driving it around, I was actually driving it quite a bit until I blew up one of the heads on the motor. So that's where things for the motor got a little concerning. It also just never ran good, and I know a lot of it is probably because the carburetor I have on it, but I just never went back and actually fine-tuned this thing. And that is why we're going to get to work here on the motor. A lot of the reason that this motor is going to be rebuilt is because of this right here. This is my old head, and as you can see, it completely melted it. So it melted through here, just a tad bit right here, and fully melted through right here. I actually drove this like 4 miles home like this, and it was shooting a flame out the bottom of the engine. Ran it super lean, obviously, over here. So yeah, I ordered a new head, I slapped the head on, and after that, the car just never ran too good. I'm not the best carburetor tuner on a car. I can tune my 2-strokes, but I got it from what I would assume is good, but I never got the motor set up properly. Now, this being such like a customized build, it's kind of hard to really know what I'm doing when there's nothing to follow. The heads on this, when I bought a new head, I bought the 2276 kit, which the guy said was on here. They sent me the head for it, and it was completely different compression, had a totally different amount of dome on the head itself. The guy previously cut 2 whole cooling fins down on the head itself. So that CB Performance sent me the head, and I was like, yo, this is like totally different. This one only has, 6 cooling fins, the other one has 8. And they responded basically like, yeah, someone shaved it down, so we gotta send you a different one. And then I had to get it cut and machined by them. So I don't really know what the whole setup is in this, and I'm definitely not an expert on the inside of Volkswagen motors. But I wanted to find someone who is really knowledgeable in these high CC engines, along with having charger setups, because it is kind of like a totally different beast for these engines. And luckily I found somebody. I took it upon myself to finally not work on something of my own and trust someone who's experienced in a field. Usually any engine that's in the garage, we're tearing it apart and rebuilding it ourselves. But this one, I really wanted to go to someone who is very experienced with this type of specific setup, because it is hard to figure something out when it's so custom like this. I don't want to spend too much trial and error on blowing this motor up anymore. We're going to get it built by Raback Performance, if I'm saying that right. And while he's doing that, we're going to focus on the bigger parts of dialing in the car. Right now the car has 0 brakes again. I don't know what happened, but I did a disc brake conversion on the front end, and from sitting over the last 10 years, brakes are shot right now. So there's some stuff I'm going to figure out, a lot of the line work, fuel line, run the throttle cable different, a bunch of other stuff, but we're going to focus on getting this motor pulled. It's been a while since we pulled the motor on this. I've done it many times, but it's been a while. I forgot what a pain this car is to get on the jack stands to begin with, because there's nowhere really good to jack it up, especially in the front. So right here I ran into a little situation where it was a little pain to get it in the front. Finally I was able to swing around and get it up there. I don't even think I got it on the camera, but worked on unplugging everything in the back. There's not many lines back here. There's a couple wires going to the ignition, and then my fan, my oil cooler down there with an electric fan, fuel lines, catch can, and everything else behind. Undo the starter, and there's like 4 bolts, and then it's just shimmying this thing out. As you can see, I got stuck a few times. It just wanted to lock up. It didn't want to slide good, but I don't blame it. It's been, you know, neglected for 4 or 5 years at least, sitting in the backyard, sitting in the garage, getting all dusty. So it's alright. She wanted to spend time with me. Got the motor pulled, and I ended up dropping it right off to California like the next day. Radback Performance got straight to it. They tore it all the way down to the crank. They took apart my heads, got them all cleaned up. Took off the supercharger. They got everything cleaned out in there, polished everything up, started getting a parts list together, and that's when they noticed some little issues that we had going on here. So as you can see here, the crank is bent. If you look at their dial right here, you can see where the crank actually bends as they turn it over. It's not really good to true these cranks, so we went ahead, got a new crank, we got new rods, we got a bunch of things that I'll show you guys more in the next video. Alright, Bug is finally in the garage, and it is time to start tearing this thing apart, specifically the interior, and we're taking these seats out. We're going to find a new seat situation for this thing as well. Alright, interior is all stripped out of the Bug. As for carpet and seats wise, I made these custom seat mounts to hold these seats, and these are Bride rep seats, and the waist on them is so small I barely fit in them now. So these have been welded to the floor. There's also some hole spots in the floor, and on this side you can't tell, this is a sign right here, and there's just a bunch of self-tappers running right to the floor. So it's also very shittily welded replacement floor pan on top of the other one. So with that being said, I kind of want to go through and take the whole entire body off and replace the floor pan. But yeah, we're gonna start stripping this Bug all the way apart, boys. We got a lot to do. So first things first, I'm gonna get this hood off. I'm gonna get this hood off just to get out of my way, so I can pull all this electrical out, pull the gas tank out, pull everything off the front, pull the fenders off. We're gonna start stripping apart the Bug. It's that simple. It's a lot heavier than I thought it was gonna be. Little status update on the Bug. I pulled the fenders off. I started stripping everything, the whole wire harness, everything out of the frunk here, and I started going in and scraping all this bed liner that I had in here, because this bed liner just never stuck well. So it was like raised in some spots, like in the valleys where you can just push in with crack and just chip right off. So came in here and it's just been easily just scraping it all off, and we're gonna respray the car, which means we're gonna respray the frunk, and we're gonna respray the engine bay and the interior and all that. So started stripping it all off, took the fenders off, like I said, pulled the wire harness through. The only little bit of wiring left is harness running to this taillight. And I want to take the body off because I want to do the floor pans. I want to redo this whole entire car. This is insane. I really didn't expect to go this far into it, but just my quality of what I expect in my builds now has gone up so much from originally starting this car to my Miata, my 350Z, then I had this, and I had a bunch of other projects after this one, and going back to it, there's just so many things that I'd want to correct, and I wouldn't feel satisfied if I just put the motor in it and drove this thing as is. It just would not be the same. So I had to do it, boys. I had to do it. Absolutely killer when it's all said and done. It's going to be a million times better than it is right now. It's going to be a million times more drivable, and a million times more cleaner. I've been going in on the Bug. We got everything pulled out now. Wire harness all the way from the front to rear is completely pulled out. I got to get rid of the catch can and the oil filter and the oil lines, and then this whole back part would be empty. Got to pull out the glass just to make it as light as possible when I pull the pan off. We'll probably pull the doors off as well. And most importantly, we got to take the cage out because the body won't clear the cage if I go to lift it up, because the body's not wide enough to clear the bent parts of the hoop right there. Plus we're putting floor pans in, we got to take the cage out anyways. So yeah, cage has got to come out as well. So that's what I started working on just now. I just unbolted the cage all in here in the front. Yeah, as you can see, here's where the floor pan is actually a construction sign, and it's falling apart. Some holes back here. It's very, very roughly welded in with, I don't even know what. It's a floor pan sitting on top of another floor pan. Alright boys, I am completely going in right now and tearing the bug apart. I got everything stripped out of the dash, everything stripped out of the interior, all the panels off the interior, even the headliner out, which I put in before. It's basically just a piece of felt that I cut and I spray glued it up to the top, but it looked kind of cool, but it was really wrinkly. So next time around, I'm definitely going with an OEM headliner, having it coming down the pillars and making this thing look full and super clean. But I'm in a big debate right now. As you can see, we got the bug down to its shell. I already planned on pulling the pan off. I'm going way over the top right now doing this, but I've just been going back and forth so much on this car. But I want to get the pan off. I want to redo the bottom of this car, and am I doing too much? I want to redo the floors. So if you look, they're rusty. They're chipping apart everywhere under here. It doesn't look bad from up top. As you can see here, it's self-tapping into a rusty pan, and then it's the rest of the pan back here. I don't even know what those bolts are from my battery tray, but it's rusty. I don't know. I just feel like I'd be very satisfied. I also am just really bad at making a solid decision until I go all the way in. 90% of the work that I put in this bug in the last 2 weeks is me sitting here in this chair staring at this thing trying to make a decision. If you know what I'm talking about, leave a comment below. I'm sure some of you guys do it with your projects. You can just stare at this thing for hours and not make a decision. Just going back and forth on ideas. But so I kind of wanted to go with a burgundy red, like the color of my Chevy truck. A dark burgundy red with a light colored interior, possibly cream or like an off-white. But then I'm like, damn, do I really want to go white on the interior? So I'm kind of thinking of black, but I don't know if the burgundy is going to look good with black. I think it'd pop way more with the white. Also, if I go white, I kind of want to put like the chrome trim on the windows, and against the red it would look really good. So I'll probably change the color of the wheels. And if that's not enough of my ADHD mind filling you guys with random information, I thought so hard about bagging this car. I went for days and days and looking at bag kits, talking to bag companies, and basically to do this car right with an air ride setup, you're looking about $6,000. Comes with a full front beam, and the way the rear end is on these cars is that it's a straight axle, it's a transaxle. So the axle runs right off the transmission. It's kind of a crazy air ride setup where it turns it to a cantilever, I can't remember how you pronounce it, style setup where it has a brace that goes over the transmission and there's shocks horizontally. That's what I was looking at, but then I thought to myself, for as much as I'm going to drive this car, I don't know if it's worth putting that much money into air riding it and making it something that's like dailyable if it's not going to be a daily car. Like, do I really need air ride for the weekend drives I do on this thing? I don't think so. I don't know if it's worth it. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think. Should I really go into air riding this thing? Also, that's just asking for more issues. That literally leaves you with 100 other points of failure. I'm really in a tough situation here, debating what I should do. I want you guys to let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. Also, I hope you guys are stoked on the bug. I get so many comments over the last years of when I'm working on stuff, having the bug in the background, and I really have not shown this bug on the channel for at least like 4 to 5 years. Very curious to see some of your comments in this one. There's not too much going on in this video because I was kind of just stripping the bug, but I thought it'd be cool to show it on the channel because you guys always ask about it. So that's gonna do it for this one. I'll see you guys in the next one.